I finished Magic Study by Maria van Snyder, the second book in the study series. And I liked it. I know some people don't, but I really enjoyed it. And it gave me an idea of what to expect in next chapters. Or next books, I should say. It's going to get probably a little crazy. Does this have a map that I can show you? I thought it did. Maybe it doesn't. Oh, we'll just go straight into chapter 1, I guess. Okay, then. So, at the end of Poison Study, Yelena, our heroine, told the first person perspective. She is exiled, basically. Exiled or executed. That was her only choice for being a magician. Despite saving the commander's life, that was kind of the gift that he gave her. Either go to Cydia and study magic, be awesome, be cool, but I have to stick by the rules that I made, and I don't allow magicians in Ixia. So at the start of this, we've got her and Iris, the fourth magician of Cydia, and some of the other girls that were kidnapped from Cydia by the bad magician. Excuse me. So we're in the jungles of Cydia, and we are taking Yelena to her suspected tribe, which is the Zaltanas, who live in the canopy of the jungle, in the trees in the jungle. So that kind of got me really interested in this, because I thought that would be really cool. So we get there, and she meets her brother, Leaf, first, and he kind of has like a hostile air towards her. And then she meets her mother, Pearl, and her father, Esau. So, but then her brother is apprenticed to the first magician, and he thinks that she's a northern spy. Never mind all the feelings and everything that he's feeling, since he was present when she was kidnapped, or at least he was down on the ground with her when she was kidnapped. He was only 8 years old. So she meets them. She meets their clan leader. I think his name's Bogle. She meets a cousin, Nutty, who's a seamstress, and I don't know if her story is too important right now, but let's just introduce her. So her name is Nutty. And she does send some material to her to make her some clothes. That's where she acquires clothes. Her brother is going back to the Citadel, the capital of Cydia, to meet with the first magician, and they suggest that Yelena goes with them, or Yelena suggests that she goes with him because she's not comfortable with the family. She doesn't know who she is in regards to them. She doesn't know what they're going to expect of her, all that jazz. So Leaf and Yelena set out, heading to the Citadel. It's a several days journey to the Citadel, and she tells him, because he can sense like feelings and everything through his magic. We're still trying to figure out what her magic is in the beginning of this book. So they are riding along, and she says there's an ambush up ahead, and he's like, no, there's not. Like, you don't know that. You're just a northern spy. It ends up being Cahill. And he kidnaps, makes it seem like he kidnaps them, but Leaf isn't giving him an issue because he agrees with them. Like, yeah, she's a spy. Whatever. So they kind of have her prisoner, but she escapes. One of the men, she gets kind of into a tiff with one of the men. Joel, I think his name is. It's spelled really weird, but that's how I've been pronouncing it. Joel. He is a really good tracker. He goes after her. She finds him because he's been pretty nasty to her. And she basically ties him to a tree and everything, goes back to the camp, sneaks in under Cahill's tent because he's the leader, claims he is the descendant of the king that was killed in Ixia, but he's taking refuge there, and these are his retinue, if you will. So she sneaks into his tent and then basically lets him know that if she was a spy, she could have easily killed him and taken care of his soldiers and everything. And so he decides to let her walk on her own. She tells them where they can find Joel. And then along the way, we discover that she's able to connect with the mind of horses. So she connects with the mind of Cahill's horse. And they get to the citadel. And she sees beggar children in the streets. She gives one a coin, and suddenly it kind of gets attacked, thronged by people wanting money. And so she learns that wasn't the way. But in Ixia, everybody had a job to do, so there wasn't really anybody that was begging for money or for food or anything. So they get her to the citadel. She meets Rose, the first magician, and immediately her mind is assaulted by this magician. She resists by using her connection to... I forgot his name. He's only like Valak. Her connection to Valak. He's only like the main male character. Love interest, whatever you will. So she, using her connection to Valak, and she doesn't know if it's real or not, but it feels real, but she was able to kind of fend for herself and not let the first magician get too far. So she meets Iris there. They set her up in one of the suites, and she starts learning her way around the citadel. I'm trying to think about what's important to the story. She's apprenticed to Iris. Iris has to leave to take Iris has already delivered the other girls there. She has to leave to go explore something. Leaves her with, is his name Bane? The second magician, who is all into history and everything like that. They end up bringing in this girl who survived basically a serial killer attack. So there's this guy that's been running around the country kidnapping girls at the age of when they come into their power, so about 16 years old, and basically torturing and raping them, and killing them, stealing their souls. They find one that's alive, bring her back to the hospital, and Yelena goes in there to try and go into her mind to try and figure out what'll bring her back so they can figure out how to catch this guy and who this guy is. She asks Yelena to go get her sister because that person would know her better. When her sister gets there, her sister's Opal. This girl's name is Tula. So she asks Opal a bunch of questions about her and Tula, what's Tula's favorite place and everything. When she finally gets the answer she needs, with Opal's help, she goes into Tula's mind and is able to get her to come back to consciousness. And so her brother is there, and he joins with her mind as well, and she's able to show him what the guy looks like and the tattoos and such on his arm. So they go back to Bane the historian, first magician, and so their job is to research what these tattoos could mean, where it's from. The first inclination is from the Sandseed clan. So Iris goes with I don't remember who, but she goes with somebody, and they go to the Sandseed clan. Well, Leaf and Yelena go after them, Or is it just Yelena that goes after them? Using her horse that she has been designated Kiki. Kiki is a horse of the Sandseed clan. So we go there. She meets with Moonman, or a story weaver, who tells her story, and that's kind of the only way that they can get into their clan and like lower the magic is if they pass their test or whatever. So he invites her in there. The clan leaders will not talk to Iris, and I think it's Cal Hill that's with her. It must be because they think he offends them somehow in some way. So Iris leaves with Cahill and she talks to them and she finds out a little bit of her history. They unlock her memories from when she was a little girl, when she was kidnapped, so that she has more reason to be upset with Leaf, because from what they showed her, he watched her get kidnapped and didn't do anything about it. He didn't tell the parents that he was kidnapped, what the guy looked like, or anything like that. He was 8, but, you know, Yelena's still pretty young, so of course she's going to hold a grudge and anger in her. But anyway, and then so she talks to them about what she knows and what she learned, what's going on. And they said, well, it's not of our clan, but there's this faction that kind of moved off from us. They do some weird things like that, might be for them. And then she discovers that her horse is a member of the Sandseed clan, and that they're like, you really don't need a saddle for this horse. I don't think that's really important to the story, but because she's still learning to ride, she used the saddle to get back, and she's like, how do I get back? And they're like, oh, the horse will tell you. So the horse takes her back. She meets up with Iris, Cahill, and Leaf, and they go back to the Citadel. And all right, where am I? We find out that we've got a delegation from Ixia on the way. And so they are telling Yelena that she needs to stay at the Citadel. They don't quite trust her to not use herself as bait to trying to get this man, because the ritual, oh no, sorry, what she learned with the Sandseed clan suggests that there will be that he has to kill the 11th victim. He has to kill all his victims, steal their soul, and then somebody, the 12th victim, has to go to him willingly for him to complete the ritual, and then he will be all powerful and probably take over Cydia. So they rush back to the Citadel only to find that Tula is gone, dead, and Opal has been kidnapped. And there's a little note that says Yelena needs to come if they want to see Opal again. So they're telling Yelena that she can't go offer herself as bait because they don't trust that she can take care of herself. Technically, she shouldn't be able to, but she kind of does. It's one of those weird things. So the Ixia delegation comes. The ambassador is really the commander as his female self. And Yelena talks about how she suspects that there are 2 souls in him, one that's female, one male, and that he gets in touch with his female soul so that he can parade as the commander's cousin, Sitne. So she meets up with them, and she's looking for Valak, knowing that he probably shouldn't come because Cydia hates Valak and wants him dead, especially Cahill. But she sees Janko and Ari, so she gets really excited about that. And then she looks at the advisor to the ambassador, Imol or something like that, and she recognizes his eyes. So he's disguised as the advisor there. They meet up in her bedroom or when they can and reconnect. And then she figures things out, but she goes after with Valak's help, she goes after the guy who they've realized was disguising himself as a gardener at the Citadel. So she goes after him, goes out to meet to the meeting spot at a big rock in the desert with Kiki. And Valak's supposed to be behind her, but he never comes. So she meets up with, she sees Opal. Opal gives her a hug, and then Opal kind of jabs her with the Curaire, they call it. And it is a paralysis drug. So it's a drug that causes paralysis. Her father, they had come to, oh, I guess I forgot that part. Okay, before all that happens, she's out training with Ari and Janko, and they leave, so she's out there by herself for a minute, and she gets kidnapped by Joel because he's got a grudge against her. He takes her to like a shed on the property of the Citadel, and he's got her bound, and he's going to attempt to basically torture her and whatever else he can do to appease his ego. Well, Ari and Janko come in because they find out where she's at. And Valak comes in, Cahill comes in, realizes Valak's there. And then she's like, you know what, guys, I've got this. Just give me a bit. So they take bets on how long it's going to take her to come out. So Cahill's getting some venomous words towards Valak, who kind of disappears into the shadows. And she uses her magic to jump into Joel's mind to make him unlock her, and then basically lock himself up before she jumps back into her own body. She comes out, and yeah, there's a council where she's back. Her parents have come because they were going to come anyway, visit her, but when they came, she was kidnapped by Joel. So that's how her father and mother get to the Citadel. So that her father can develop Theobroma in a pill form that she can just kind of break with her teeth, which is the antidote to Curaire. Kind of an antidote. It's not a complete antidote. So that if she does get jabbed with Curaire while she's trying to get Opal back, she can have something to hopefully get her out of the paralysis, or at least get her in touch with her magic. So she gets kidnapped by a woman, Arya, and Arya is the sister to Mogken, the rogue magician from the first book. And so Yelena had to bite down on the Theobroma pill, and she's able to move her hands enough that they go to a place in the plains called the Void, I guess, where all magic is kind of depleted. She's able to grab her knife and stabs Arya, but then Arya stabs her back, and basically says, you can't move my knife, because if you do, you'll bleed out, and you're not going to be able to get yourself free. So she uses the Curaire to kind of numb the area where she was stabbed, takes out Yelena's knife, and says, so you're going to stay there until I get somebody who can heal you so we can do the real work, basically pay you back for murdering my brother. Kiki finds her, the horse, and so she talks to Kiki. She didn't know if she could use magic to access Kiki's mind, so she tells Kiki out loud, can you get that knife for me? And Kiki does, so she gets the knife. She releases herself, all in pain and everything, and basically gets on the horse, and they get out of the void, go for a little bit. She's able to get into her pack where she had some of the Curaire sample from her dad and numb the area. Well, eventually she finds Janko and Ari at a fire because they were out looking for her, but they got lost because of the magic in the plains. This is a long retelling. Sorry. They get her back. She's like, I saw that in a when all the magic came at me that Valak was captured, they're like, yeah, he was captured. And then she found out that he escaped. And then she sees him as a beggar near the Citadel. So she knows where he is. So she finds out that the one who took Opal was not the serial killer. And they're like, well, who is the serial killer then? Who did he take? Turns out he took the second magician's, one of his apprentices, Chelsea. And Dax, the other apprentice, is like telling Yelena frantic, I can't find her anywhere. And she's like, that's who he took. And so she had it connected with Chelsea's mind at one point. She's able to connect again with Dax, find out a rough area of where she is. She makes a plan to go there, using the street urchin kids whom she had been paying to do odd jobs and who had picked up the idea of doing odd jobs around the city. So she goes with Leaf. Ferde, his name is, gets into Leaf's mind and basically uses all his negative emotions toward Yelena to turn him into trying to kill Yelena. She takes care of her brother by forcing herself into his mind, puts him to sleep, goes after Ferde, fights with him, wins, basically using her mother's concoction. Her mother makes perfume, so she uses her mother's perfume bottle to spray Curie in his face. And then all this time, he's already tried to steal Chelsea's soul. So he basically choked her. Yelena saw her soul rise up, so she went and grabbed her soul, kept it in her mind. And then she was able to get into Ferdy's mind and really saw the other souls. And then she was able to put Chelsea's soul back into her, so that Chelsea's not dead. She's alive. So they basically save the day there. And now we've got to figure out what's going on with her and Valak. She gets like an offer from the commander via his ambassador, via himself, saying that she's welcome back into Ixia if she works for him as a magician. And she's like, you know what? This isn't a good idea. Let's, how about if I just become a liaison? I never know how to pronounce that one. Liaison between Ixia and Cydia, because you guys have no idea what the other one's doing. So he tears up the execution order and says, that's a good plan. Finish your training and, we can do this. Spend some time on the plains with Valak, her brother. The Moon Man comes back so that they can go find the Davian tribe where Arya is. And the Davian tribe was the offset of the Sanseed tribe that they really do not like. Let's go much later than I thought. Anyway, so the Moon Man and several warriors from the Sanseed clan, they go with Valak, Leaf, and Yelena, and they move the Void over to their camp, find out that they have a lot more people there than they were expecting. Anyway, they get into a little fight. They call the retreat right before Alina goes to take care of Arya. Valak comes up, kills Arya because he's like, we're not going to deal with this again. We're not going to have a repeat of this. And she's like, okay, I didn't want to kill her, but okay. So they go out, trying to get Valak out of the country before Cahill comes back to get him. Because I guess, according to Cahill, Yelena and Valak are heartmates. So, anyway, Leaf goes back to the Citadel. They've kind of repaired their bond through the Moon Man. There's their sibling rivalry type thing. Anyway, and Yelena decides to go back to the Citadel to figure out how they're going to train her, because she really is a soul finder, which is scary to them. Anyway, Fire Study is the next one. We'll see what happens in the next one, but it's a fun series and I'm really enjoying them. So